8255.
And welcome aboard on Sugar Talk with Dr. KG Lucas. Doctor's in the house. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
What are we talking about today?
What's scary about diabetes?
It's Halloween week, right?
Yeah, we have to have some scary stuff.
Yes, one of the biggest. Well, I guess I don't know what holiday is not a sugar holiday actually, but
Yeah,
this
really.
is one of the biggest.
You can
ones.
make every holiday a sugar holiday, even the 4th of July. So.
Yeah, it was funny. It's funny because I saw actually an ad for Crest toothpaste, and dentists always talk about Halloween. But this one was they were having kids who were tasting things. They said, "Oh, it tastes like broccoli." And it says, no, bring on the candy. We got you covered. And it was an ad for Crest. I thought that was pretty bold.
Yeah, brush your teeth right after the candy.
But there are some things that are scary about it, right?
Well, first of all, it sneaks up on you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't type 2 diabetes. You don't know you have it. You might not know you have it for years, especially if you're one of those people that, like me, that don't like to go to the doctor. And so you don't like to get blood work done or anything like that. But you sort of know you're going to get it because of your family history.
Mm-hmm.
So if people have diabetes in your family, or you're starting to gain weight in the middle, or any of those types of things, you probably should get checked so that you can find it early, treat it early so it stays controlled, because that's really the best time to go ahead and treat it, find it early before your pancreas wears out.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you are talking about finding it early, you're talking about doing A1C tests. What are you talking about?
A1C, or fasting blood sugars, or after eating blood sugars, or A1C is probably the best overall test to figure out if it's starting to creep up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have diabetes in your family, you can also do a glucose tolerance test, which is a little more elaborate. You have to drink 300 calories of sugar, which is sort of like Smithville's tea or McDonald's sweet tea. So 300 calories of sugar, in 10 minutes. And then they check your blood sugar. So that's like a challenge test.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll pick it up real early. We usually do insulin levels too to see if you're making too much insulin, like if you're insulin resistant, having to make a lot of insulin to keep your sugar normal. So it picks up a lot of things. You get a lot of information out of it. So if you think you might be at risk for diabetes, or you've had gestational diabetes, you're starting to gain weight in the middle, especially women after menopause tend to do that. And as you get older, you tend to do that. So it's good to check on it, because the sooner you treat it, the more your pancreas will survive.
Okay, and again, that's your number one concern is your pancreas is going to wear out.
Right, it wears out if it's having to make all that insulin, like for your whole life. Having to make too much insulin, it just gets tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
Having to do that, so it slacks off.
Okay, yeah, it retires.
It retires.
Well, again, this is scary for a number of reasons, though, because you've talked about all the other diseases that may not be caused by diabetes, but certainly influenced by it.
Yeah, and another scary thing is that it does affect all your organs in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we forget about some organs. We forget about the liver, how it can affect the liver, cause fatty liver and cirrhosis just from having high blood sugar. But it affects that. I think everybody knows about the eyes and the kidneys. Anywhere there are blood vessels in your body, it affects, because it sticks to all the blood vessels. So eyes, kidneys, nerve endings, so tingling and numbness in your feet can damage the nerves in your feet so that the feet don't feel anything. They don't feel whether they're getting infected or ulcers or blisters or anything like that on your feet. It can affect the nerves that go to your intestines, so you get gastroparesis, which is a slow down stomach emptying. You can get constipation, diarrhea from diabetes. You have heart disease from diabetes, strokes. So every single place in your body that has blood vessels, which is everywhere, can be affected by diabetes for sure.
Well, let's concentrate on a couple things. How about eyes in particular? Because I think that's one that maybe a lot of people don't know.
It does a lot of things to the eyes. One, it can cause cataracts, which is pretty common anyway, but people with diabetes have more cataracts. So that's if you get sugar in the lens of your eye, it can damage your lens of your eye. And it can also cause blurred vision acutely, like if your sugar goes way up or way down, you can have changes in your vision, and that's because the lens of your eye swells and contracts depending on what the blood sugar is. So that's not a permanent thing, the blurred vision, but it's a sign that something's going on. If you don't know you have diabetes and you have to change your glasses like drastically, a lot of the eye doctors are checking people's blood sugar when they come, and they have a real, because you don't want to have to buy glasses at $500 for glasses, and then all of a sudden, oh well, you can't see out of them. So
Right.
if your vision has changed drastically, that's a sign of diabetes. It affects the little blood vessels in the eyes. That's what they look at when they dilate your eyes and shine the bright light in it. That's the only place in the body you can actually see blood vessels. So you can get damage to the blood vessels. They can leak out protein. They can leak out blood. They can hemorrhage and cause blood in the eye. You can get macular edema, which macular is the back of the eye. So when it swells up, macular is the center of vision, your central vision area. So you don't want to get damage to that because you won't be able to see. So it causes that too. Glaucoma is the other one. So it causes pretty much all eye diseases.
Okay. One of the other areas that's probably scariest for diabetes, since we're talking about scariness of diabetes, is about your limbs, your legs and feet in particular. When you see when somebody says they've had a limb amputated because of diabetes, that ought to scare people.
Right. There used to be an ad for American Diabetes Association, give diabetes an inch and it'll take a foot. That was pulled because it was too drastic. But if you have damage to the nerves in your feet, if you have damage to the blood vessels in your feet, then you won't feel any kind of damage. Like if you wear new shoes and get blisters on them, it can turn into ulcers. Ulcers get infected, and then you can't get enough blood flow. So even if you start an antibiotic, you might not be able to treat it in time, and it can cause gangrene, which is like a dead toe or something. It's not getting enough blood flow and it dies. So then you have to have it cut off because it's pretty serious by then. So you'd rather not ever get to that point. And we tell people to always look at their feet, even the bottom of their feet, even between their toes, and make sure, especially if you have numb feet or tingly feet that you can't really feel what's going on. You need to just look and make sure, because you can prevent a lot of foot problems just from looking at your feet.
I wonder how many people are wiggling their toes right now to see if they're feeling it.
If you can't get your bottom of your feet up to your eyes to look at them,
That's right.
then you can do a mirror on the floor. That's the old mirror trick.
Yeah. But those are two of the scary things I think that people ought to be aware of, because as we talk about diabetes being scary, one of the other parts is that may be scariest is that if you know that you have family members with diabetes, that you ought to be afraid, be very afraid.
Well, you're afraid for them, but you just need to be concerned about it. You don't have to be worried and wringing your hands and not doing anything. Diabetes is one of those diseases you can make a big impact on. Even without medications or even with small amounts of medications, you can make a big impact on your habits every day. And so it's one of those ones you can fix yourself. Pretty well. You can fix it very well. Especially in the early stages of diabetes. So it shouldn't be something that you're needlessly worried, but you just be concerned about.
Okay, we'll take a short break. We'll be back with more on Sugar Talk with Dr. KG and Lucas here on the Talk Station.